Good day, everybody. Welcome to Mind Prosperity, where we believe where your mind goes, your life follows. Now, for your mind to be at a good place, your emotional health has to be at a good place. If you look at the word emotion, it comes from the Latin word animi motus, which means a movement in the mind. And you know, if you don't deal with certain emotions, if you don't deal with certain things, it can really affect your mindset. And like I said earlier, where your mind goes, your life follows. So today we're going to speak about hyper-independence as a trauma response. So we're going to look now at what hyper-independence is, and you know, what are some other factors that can influence us. But before I get there, I want to tell you what is our aim. Where do we want to end up? Where do we want to go? So where we want to end up, where we want to go is what we call hyper-interdependence. Not hyper-interdependence, a normal healthy, that's the word I want to use, a normal healthy interdependence. So what is a normal healthy interdependence is, you know, is where you can say, I have a type of an independence, but I'm also open for the help of other people, or I'm also open for the help of my romantic partner. So that is what a healthy interdependence is about. There are things I can do for myself, but I'm also open to say there are things that you can do for me. There are things that I can do for you, but I also acknowledge that there are things that you can do for yourself. So it's two people willing to help each other, willing to support each other, but it's not this idea of two halves make a whole. It's two whole people coming together and doing something great with their lives. So some of you might have seen that I've decided to grow my hair a little bit longer. And I remember when I had short hair, I would just like use any shampoo. And recently my hairdresser taught me about like different shampoos that I can use now for that is good for my hair now that it's getting longer. And one thing she said don't use the one where the shampoo and the conditioner are together. Use the shampoo and then the conditioner. It's good for your hair. But the point I'm trying to make when it comes to shampoo and conditioner, you have to put water with it. You put on the shampoo, and then you have to put on water. You cannot just put on the shampoo, and you cannot just use water. You have to put them together. And this is what interdependence is when two people come together and they say together we can help each other. Together we can be great. So let's look at some of the other things that trauma can cause, and then we're going to focus on hyper-independence. So the first one I want to deal with is codependence. And I'm going to read to you what codependence is. It typically involves one person, known as the codependent, excessively relying on the needs, approval, and validation of the other person, often to the detriment of their own well-being. So the codependent kind of wants to play savior to the other person. I want to save you. I want to help you. And they're always attracted to somebody that has like this big need that and the people don't want to fulfill their own needs. So it's almost like I take it upon myself to be your savior. I take it upon myself to be your helper. And it also comes from a type of like a childhood trauma. And then you get narcissism and selfishness. And I'm going to read to you what narcissism and selfishness entails. Narcissistic behavior is characterized by an excessive focus on oneself, a sense of entitlement, a lack of empathy for others, a need for admiration and validation. Selfishness is a broader term that describes a person's tendency to prioritize their own interests, wants, and desires over those of others. So when it comes to the codependent, everything is about you. I need to save you. I need to help you. When it comes to the narcissist and the selfish person, everything is about me. You have to save me. You have to help me. Otherwise, I get very uncomfortable. Otherwise, I get very angry. And so today we're going to speak about hyper-independence. So hyper-independence, also known as extreme self-reliance or excessive independence, is a behavioral pattern in which an individual exhibits an intense and often rigid desire to handle everything on their own, without seeking help or support from others, even when it would be appropriate or beneficial to do so. So it's almost like, they can see and they can experience and they can know that help from other people will be good for them, help from their partner will be good for them, but they will never reach out because independence is like, I have to do everything myself. They get so uncomfortable, they get so weary, they get so irritated almost if they cannot do that, if they cannot do it themselves, and they get like irritated with other people who want to help them. So there's not a healthy interdependence. It's almost like, I'm going to take all the shampoo in the bottle and I'm going to rub it on my head, but I'm not willing to put any water with it, although the water will help. I'm just going to wash my hair with water. I'm not going to put any shampoo with it, although the shampoo will help. So that is this hyper independence, where I don't need the help from anything or anyone else. So I'm going to give you a few characteristics of hyper independence. Number one, focus on doing things self and never asking for help. And I want to add to that, not only don't they ask for help, they don't welcome help when other people offer it. So these people don't want any help from any other person. Number two, closeness is a threat. Why? Because they are so focused on, I have to do this myself, and as soon as somebody else comes in, they get kind of like this realization of, you know what, I'm now at a place where I kind of have to allow this person to help me. I kind of have to allow this person into my life, and they feel very uncomfortable with it. So closeness to them is a threat. Number three, fear of loss of independence. So they got so comfortable with their independence, they got so familiar with their independence, they've learned to enjoy their independence so much that they kind of have this fear of losing it. What if I cannot be independent anymore? What if I have to be interdependent now? What if I have to, put the shampoo with the water? Although it will be easier, it's not comfortable for me. So I do not want to do it. Number four, fear of loss of freedom. So people with a hyper independence thinks they believe their freedom is within their independence. As long as they can do it themselves, as long as they don't need any other person in their lives, they are free. So they are afraid that if they become interdependent, they will lose that freedom. Fear of loss over control over self. And I think this can be to an extent a healthy fear, where you're like, I don't want to be controlled by other people. And obviously you don't want to be controlled by other people. So it is a healthy thing to say, I don't want to be controlled by other people. But they can perceive help as control. And this is very important. As soon as somebody gives them advice, as soon as somebody says, listen, can I advise you to do it this way? Can I give you information on this? Can I help you with this? They can quickly perceive it as a sense of control. Number six, no one else can meet my needs, only I can. So if I cannot do it myself, that need cannot be met. So I cannot trust anybody for help because nobody else can meet that need. So that is some characteristics of what hyper independence is. So now we're going to look at some of the childhood trauma that leads to hyper independence, that can cause hyper independence. Number one is neglect. So if a parent neglects a child, the child learns how to do things for themselves, and they don't welcome the trust of another person. Now remember, your subconscious mind runs 95% of your life, and a lot of your subconscious mind is shaped by the age of 1 years old or 0 to 7 years old. Everything that happens around you in the environment of 0 years old till 7 years old shapes your subconscious mind. So in that time, because there was neglect through the parents, the young child has taken this role of becoming familiar with doing things for themselves. Now, as soon as you become familiar with something, as soon as something becomes a habit to you, it just feels right. So because this child has been taught or learned in their subconscious mind to do everything for themselves, it's difficult to welcome somebody now that can help them and be there for them. The other one is abandonment. So if you feel abandoned, you develop kind of like this fear of emotional reliance on another person. So if you emotionally rely on another person, it feels very, very uncomfortable. So when you have been abandoned and that emotional need is not met by other people, you kind of learn to hide it, to bury it, to get rid of it. And as soon as somebody else comes, it feels like they are digging something up that you have buried. And it's almost like going through an operation. You need to go through the operation to get something fixed, but it feels very uncomfortable in that moment. Emotional abuse. So if somebody has been criticized verbally, humiliated, been told how bad they are, been told how screwed up they are, then they're very afraid to get close to another person again, because in their subconscious mind, in their habit, they see people, they see close relationships as people who are just going to humiliate them, who are going to criticize them. And as soon as somebody doesn't humiliate them, doesn't criticize them, as soon as somebody tries to help them, it feels familiar, it feels right, it feels good. And then that is where the hyper independence again comes in, because that is what feels familiar, that is what feels right, and that is what feels good. Overprotective parenting. So these people have been shielded from challenges, and they lack confidence in relying on others. So they never went out, experienced some challenges, met some people, did some teamwork where they have learned to rely on other people. They've just been in this protective bubble the whole time. And they've just been concealed in this one place the whole time. So another thing that comes from childhood trauma is attachment styles, the way they have learned attachment. Now, if you have to fight for the approval of your parents the whole time, if you have to perform for the performance, or if you have to perform for the improvement of your parents the whole time, it's not a healthy attachment style. It comes to a place where there's an unhealthy attachment style, because now you're in this performance mentality and you want to perform. Every single time you struggle, every single time you don't perform, you start to withdraw. And you start to withdraw. They call that avoidant attachment, because you avoid the punishment and the criticism that comes with that whole idea of I didn't perform well. So the attachment style is not good. So you have this, you're kind of like have to perform in front of people all the time. And you're afraid to be vulnerable and say, I cannot perform in this area. And that's why you also develop a hyper independence, because as soon as you can admit you cannot perform, then you also admit that you need the help of other people, and you've never been comfortable in your life to admit you need the help of other people. And then the final one I want to give you is living in survival mode. That's growing up in a very chaotic, stressful environment, and you have to kind of like fight for your own survival. And now in this world, you've developed that habit of fighting for your own survival. You are so used to it, and you are not okay with letting somebody else in to help you, because you feel the whole time like, even in a healthy relationship, even in a healthy context, you feel like I have to fight for my own survival. So what is healthy interdependence? And healthy interdependence, like we said earlier, it's mixing the shampoo with the water, where two things can work together good and two things can work together well. Healthy interdependence in relationships refer to a balanced and mutually supportive dynamic where individuals maintain their independence and self-identity while also relying and cooperating with each other for emotional, physical, and practical needs. It involves a sense of collaboration, trust, and mutual respect, where both partners contribute to the relationship's well-being without sacrificing their individuality. So again, I want to say with this, it doesn't mean two halves become one and two people who are insecure and broken just come and like feed each other's brokenness. It's two people who have a healthy sense of independency, but also has a type of like a vulnerability where they say there are some areas where I need other people. So shampoo is good. Water is good. If you put them together, they can wash hair. So these people say, you know, I'm a good individual, you are a good individual, but together we can do something great. And I want to end with this quote by Andrea Miller, and she said, healthy interdependence means that you both maintain your separate identities, but also choose to make the relationship a priority. Now, I think that's a very, very good and great description. Remember to like this video, to subscribe. We want to go to 1,000 subscribers, and also feel free to send this video to other people, because we do believe it can help them very well. Thank you so much for watching, and we're looking forward to see you again from Mind Prosperity. We love you, and we are excited about this journey. Goodbye.